Welcome back to the Explainer Focused Learners. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. We are putting on our coaching hats and taking a really structured, deep dive into, honestly, one of the most critical new exams in the entire cloud space right now. I'm talking about the Microsoft AI-300 certification. If you're looking to become a certified machine learning operations, or MLOps, engineer associate, well, you are in the exact right place. We're going to unpack exactly what this exam is, why it exists, and most importantly for our focus today, exactly how it tests your applied knowledge. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for demystifying the AI-300. We'll start with a production AI challenge, then look at the shift to AI operations, break down the 5 exam domains, get into the nitty-gritty of how knowledge is tested, decode some real exam question formats, and finally, wrap up with a concrete study plan for preparing for the AI-300. Section 1. The Production AI Challenge, Running AI at Scale. So you might be asking yourself, now that your AI model is built, how do you actually run it at scale without the whole thing just completely breaking? This is the exact challenge organizations are facing today. Because let's be honest, there's this shared collective terror among engineers when a model goes from being this cool, highly controlled experiment to suddenly facing the total chaos of a live production environment. Organizations desperately need engineers who can ensure these complex systems don't just crash the second they're under heavy load. And that requires a deep understanding of MLOps for traditional machine learning and GenAI ops for generative AI applications. Section 2. Shift to AI operations, from DP100 to AI-300. You see, Microsoft completely recognized this massive shift. The old paradigm was the DP100 exam, the Azure Data Scientist Associate Certification, which was marked to retire in June 2026. That one focused heavily on data science, exploring data, training, and building the models. But the new paradigm, the AI-300, is a completely different beast. This certification expands the scope significantly. It is laser-focused on being an MLOps engineer. It's all about automation, infrastructure as code using tools like Bicep, continuous integration and deployment with GitHub Actions, observability, and managing generative AI operating models in actual production. So you aren't just the builder anymore, you are the operator. Section 3. The 5 exam domains, skills measured. And this brilliantly illustrates where the heavy emphasis really lies. The largest chunk, coming in at 25 to 30%, is implementing the machine learning model lifecycle and operations. Right behind that, at 20 to 25%, is designing and implementing Gen AI ops infrastructure. Then you have traditional MLOps infrastructure at 15 to 20%. The final 2 domains focus heavily on quality assurance, observability, and optimizing generative AI systems, each making up about 10 to 15%. Looking at this breakdown makes one thing abundantly clear. This exam heavily tests your ability to manage the lifecycle and the underlying infrastructure of the AI, not just the code of the model itself. Section 4. How knowledge is tested, exam format. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. If you're expecting an exam you can pass by just memorizing a textbook, yeah, you're going to be in for a huge surprise. The AI-300 uses a variety of interactive formats to rigorously test applied, highly practical knowledge of Azure systems. We're talking multiple choice, yes, no, drag and drop, complex case studies, and multiple response questions. The whole thing spans about 40 to 60 questions over 120 minutes. But the main goal of these varied formats is to simulate real-world problem solving. Microsoft basically wants to know, can you actually navigate the Azure Machine Learning Workspace in real life? Can you properly configure a Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, system? Section 5. Decoding exam question formats. Decoding the test. Now, what's really interesting about this is how they use the case study format. The prompt explicitly states that case studies are not timed separately, meaning you have to manage your overall 120 minutes incredibly wisely. These case studies present complex, multi-layered scenarios that evaluate true, real-world problem solving. For instance, they might throw a business requirement at you, like needing to store prompts for a generative AI application in a highly controlled, versioned way. And you have to know, without hesitation, that the correct operational solution is integrating a Git repository. It directly tests your ability to connect high-level business needs with specific Azure infrastructure and DevOps tooling. And check out this fascinating example of a hot area configuration task. Imagine a scenario where you literally have to configure a hybrid retrieval setup in Azure AI Search. They'll give you a retrieval requirement, something like exact identifier matching, and you actually have to select the correct configuration from a simulated drop-down menu. In this specific case, you'd be choosing keyword-based retrieval with lexical scoring. This proves, for sure, that candidates are tested on highly specific operational UI tasks. You can't just know the theory of hybrid search. You have to know exactly which settings to select in the Azure portal to achieve that precision and natural language relevance. It is deeply, deeply practical.
Section 6. Preparing for the AI-300. Their study plan.
So the crucial point is this 4-step, 4-week study plan. Step 1, start with the official study guide. Treat that thing as your absolute authoritative checklist. Step 2, and I literally cannot stress this enough, practice hands-on with Azure Machine Learning and Microsoft AI Foundry. Hands-on lab experience is absolutely non-negotiable for passing this exam. Knowing the theory alone is just not going to cut it when you're hit with those hot area UI dropdowns, right? Step 3, master infrastructure as code, like Bicep and CI/CD tools like GitHub Actions, because automation is just a massive part of the MLOps paradigm. And finally, step 4, validate your readiness with practice tests and the Microsoft Exam Sandbox so you can get comfortable with the weird interface and the overall pacing. Which brings us to our final thought today. The AI-300 really represents exactly where the entire tech industry is heading. We are moving way past the hype phase of AI, and we're stepping right into the operational reality. With generative AI rapidly shifting from mere experimentation to massive enterprise scale, ask yourself, are you ready to be the engineer who ensures it never breaks in production? I really hope this explainer has given you the clarity and the concrete roadmap you need to tackle the AI-300 certification with total confidence. So get into those Azure labs, get your hands dirty, and go conquer it that exam.